Alright, so it's Alec. I'm up here in the left-hand corner, and this is Rob Watson,
Hello.
and we're going to talk about The Trip. So I know you've seen the TV series, I've seen the film, basically the same content. So what do you think of The Trip?
Well, I mean, it was broadcast over on the BBC in a six-part TV show, and it's the first time that Michael Winterbottom has ever done TV shows. Michael Winterbottom was the director of the film.
Right.
And it stars Steve Coogan and Rob Brydon. I think Steve Coogan's pretty well known in the States for his appearances in things like Around the World in 80 Days, and also in It Was Night at the Museum. But Rob Brydon is another comedian that works a lot with both Michael Winterbottom and Steve Coogan. And I'm not sure how well known he is over there. He's very well known.
I don't think he's known at all here. Steve Coogan's very well known.
Well, Steve and Rob have worked together quite a lot before. Rob is the kind of the yin to Steve Coogan's slightly maniacal yang, basically. He's cultivated quite a kind of friendly appearance over here. He's got a talk show which is quite sweet. And the two of them, when it was announced that they'd be doing this TV show where they essentially, over 6 episodes, would visit 6 different restaurants in very nice parts of the UK and eat dinner. I think everyone was a little bit kind of, well, what is this going to be? I mean, how are you going to make a TV show that's still going to be interesting with this going on?
Right.
And what I think they did do very successfully is they made a recurring series. I haven't seen the film, so I'm not quite sure if it works sequentially there, but they made a TV series that was interesting, fun, and there was a kind of character development through the whole piece. The whole concept of the film is essentially Steve Coogan is Steve Coogan, and he's been asked by the Guardian newspaper, which is the big newspaper in the UK, to go off and write a series of articles exploring the land of his, childhood. Steve Coogan was brought up in Manchester. He was, as a slight aside, he was the star of another Michael Winterbottom film called 24-Hour Party
Right.
People, which is about Manchester in the 1980s and 1990s. The music scene was a really fantastic movie.
Yeah.
And there's a joke at the beginning where he says that I tried everyone else that I can possibly
Yes.
find. My girlfriend won't come with me. My friends won't come with me. So Rob, you're the last guy I want to come, but you're going to come with me. And Rob just goes, "Oh, great, I'll come with you." And that kind of sets the tone for the whole thing. Is that this constant kind of, Steve Coogan's undermining of him is much more vicious. But actually, you get the feeling that Rob Brydon, in not really rising to it, kind of gets under Steve Coogan's skin a bit more. And it's a very, very interesting kind of dynamic
Right.
between them. There's no idea that this is going to go anywhere. There's not a kind of the thing that perhaps might be a problem. It's not too much of a problem in a TV show, but maybe in a film form, there's not that kind of like these characters have to go from A to B to C, but have to go through B. I mean, it kind of follows on a line, and what happens is that these characters, they don't really change too much as they're going through. I mean, Steve Coogan is still Steve Coogan at the end of it. Rob Brydon is still Rob Brydon at the end of it. So I think perhaps for audiences who are used to a kind of 3-act dramatic structure of summer blockbusters, this might be a kind of a strange experience.
Yeah.
But I can see how it might have more in key with a kind of American independent movie, something that a low budget film, something like. I'm just trying to think.
It is playing in art house theaters. It's not playing in multiplexes.
Yeah.
I saw it with my dad, and he actually did see a little bit of character change and development.
Oh, really?
And he saw that, through this trip, Rob Brydon realized that he didn't want to be away from his wife for more than 3 days. And there's that line, and that Steve Coogan realized that he didn't want to take the show in the U.S. because he's offered a show, some crime show, the dime a dozen crime shows, and he decides not to do it because he wants to be by his son. And so that's what my dad saw, is that through this trip, the two of them realized something about themselves, and so.
I think that's a good point. Actually, that it's a very kind of subtle movie. It's not kind of really signposted where your affection should lie.
Very much plays around with what is real and what is fiction, because
Sure.
they're very much playing versions of themselves, but
Sure.
their girlfriends, their families. They're played by actors.
Sure, sure.
So I find it very interesting.
This goes back to a film that they made in about 2006, 2007 called A Cock and Bull Story.
Right,
I don't
Tristram
know if you watched
Shandy.
that, but it's a film it's a film within a film about the filming of an unfilmable novel.
Right,
called,
which I've seen, and it's great.
It's a really, really funny film, and Steve Coogan and Rob Brydon are doing exactly the same thing in this. They're playing versions of themselves, and there is a real competitive spark between them. And the interesting thing about that is that in real life, in interviews, if you read with them, if you know anything about them, there is this kind of a very uneasy love-hate relationship between Steve Coogan and Rob Brydon. You know, that they're best friends, but they're also very, very competitive.
I do think Michael Winterbaum is an interesting director for these kinds of films, like 24-Hour Party People and Cock and Bull and this, because he does have a history in documentaries. He did The Road to Guantanamo Bay, and he brings a certain quality to these films where, yes, they are narrative, but they have a certain documentary feel, and you really don't know, as I was saying, what's real and what's not real, because yes, you are seeing real chefs, but you do know some of that wait staff is also actors. So it's like you're not sure where that line is between fiction film and documentary.
Yeah, I mean Michael Winterbottom is one of my favourite filmmakers in the UK. He's kind of like a British version of Steven Soderbergh, because he likes to shoot a lot of films. He does 1 or 2 films a year. There is a speed about him, and there is a genre hopping about him as well. He's willing to take risks. I mean, he made 9 Songs, which was the first sexually explicit movie ever to be released in cinemas without an X certificate. He made The Killer Inside Me, which was a very, very violent movie. But he also makes quite sweet movies. Like, I think A Cock and Bull Story is a quite sweet film. 24 Party People is a very funny film. And he's doing a version. He's doing Trisha at the moment with Indian actors in India. So he's a really, really interesting filmmaker. And I think you're completely right. He's got that there's a very free and easy way of, he just moves the camera around and he just kind of takes stuff in, and there's an observational eye to it that, some filmmakers, are much more measured, just come from a fiction background, might not have seen.